I mean, the point of child benefit is to help the children, not to help the parents. And you've got two things to worry about. One is that obviously poverty in families you need to alleviate to prevent children suffering badly. But on the other hand, you don't want to make it so attractive that people get bigger and bigger families to the disadvantage of the children. That happens not in a large number of cases, maybe only 1 or 2 in 100 cases, but nevertheless it does happen and we need to do something about it.
And Begg, in those circumstances when having a large family is a detriment to all the children, should the state be taking measures to act?
Well, I'm not sure that David really is talking about state intervention of taking children away from people who have large families. Sometimes, either because of religion or just the accident of conception, people end up with families larger than they intend to. Just looking at some of the statistics, the number of multi-family households has actually doubled in the last 20 years. So there may be an explanation that there are large families because families have come together, and I don't think we should be discriminating against them.
And isn't the danger, David Davis, that you'll end up harming those very children in the larger families because overall the family will be getting less money, and it's not the children's fault, the fact that their parents have decided to have larger families?
No, I mean, and nobody wants to do that, which is why you'd have to freeze those who are currently in large families, and you have to make it clear in future that you would taper it off or cut it after 2, 3, 4. I mean, we can pick our number, really, because what we're trying to do is to ensure that the effect of the benefit system is not to encourage poor behaviour by parents. Now, it's a small number, let's be clear about this, but that small number account for large sums of money. We think about 400 million in the first year of such a change and a billion thereafter. It's a small number, but it's big impact on the welfare of the children involved, it's big impact on society in general, and frankly it undermines the case for providing welfare. When poor people are providing in their taxes welfare for the people who they think are abusing the system, then you have to do something. And I think a limit is a perfectly reasonable and fair thing. After all, people who normally, what's the normal size of a family in Britain? 2, 3, 4, not much more than that. Why should they pay somebody else to have vast numbers of children?
And Begg, a lot of people limit the number of children according to what they can afford. Well, so shouldn't that apply to people on benefits as well?
Well, the number of families who have got 13 children or more in the UK is something like 50, or less than 50. So we're talking of tiny numbers. And we're talking about £13.40 a week. Now, I don't know whether David could actually
2 to 13.
But the vast majority of households with children in them have either 1 or 2. There may be perfectly good reasons why other households have large families. A sister dies and the sister adopts the children, and that makes a large family, and we want to discriminate against these. I don't believe that people have a child so that they can get an extra £13.40 a week. Children cost a lot more than that. They'd have to be making a profit out of it in order for them to make it think that they'll be living the life of luxury, and that's what very often is said.
So David Davis, do you think it is the case that people really do decide to have more children because of the extra £13.40 a week?
In a small minority of cases, not just the extra the extra £700 a year, basically, for the second, third and other children. It's not just that. There's other packages of benefits that come with it. It's housing and housing support and so on. So that's why the numbers become big. I'm open to argument on whether it should be 2, 3 or 4, whether it should graduate it. But it does seem to me that benefit systems have to carry the sort of moral support of the public with them. And 2/3, 3/4 of people see no point in allowing a system like this to be abused by a very, very small number. And we must reflect that.
And Anne Begg, if people believe that there are abuses going on in the benefit system, even if it's limited to a tiny number, couldn't it undermine general support for the welfare state?
Well, if there are abuses going on, then we deal with the abuses. We don't try and punish everybody who has got more than 3 children. That's part of the problem of this debate. We're using a sledgehammer to crack a very small nut rather than looking at the individual cases.
This debate was, of course, sparked by what happened to the Philpott family, and today we've had the sentences being handed down by the judge. Now, David Davis, there have been some people in the city of Derby who think that the sentences have been too lenient. Mick Philpott's going to be serving a minimum of 15 years. His wife Mairead and Paul Mosley are both expected to be out after 8 years. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, he got a nominal life sentence. I'm one of those who believe life sentences should mean life, particularly in cases where there's it's a premeditated murder is what we're talking about here, on a most brutal scale. So if it had been me, I'd have put him away forever. But I'm afraid the law is the law as it stands, and the government needs to toughen it up.
The charge was manslaughter, wasn't it?
I know, but you can take what you like in terms of the actual charge. Did he intend these children to die? That's what would distinguish between the two, and I think whatever it is, it's a very evil act.
Anne Begg?
It was an evil act, and I don't think we should be making policy on the back of a very exceptional case, and my heart goes out to the children who have been the victims in all of this.
Anne Begg and David Davis. On one side, North Korea's military is